What's going on, everybody? I'm Blitz5, and this is going to be a tactical talk video going over how to get a win in PUBG. So I know a lot of other content creators out there have put together content like this in the past, so I figured I would throw my hat into the ring, and also I've been getting a lot of requests to do this over the past couple months, and I figured now is a good time to do it. We got crossplay coming out. New update. A lot of people are trying to play competitive out there. They want to show that their console is better than the other console. Kidding, but also kind of true at the same time. So here we go. The footage in the background is a 3-man squad, winner, chicken dinner on Sanhok. And I figured this gameplay would be a good example because we're 1 man down from the 4-man squad. So the odds are a little bit less in our favor. And there's a lot of good situations that arise here that I thought were good for this commentary. And again, going back to the 3-man squad, it's more important that you have good positioning, good communication when you're 1 man down playing a team with an extra player. But before I get into this video, I just want to make it clear that this is intended to help players on console get a win, or maybe a brand new player get their first winner chicken dinner with the tips and tricks that I provide in this commentary. So I'm not the best player out there, and I'm not trying to say that I am, or say that I know how to win each and every game, because obviously I don't. There are a lot of players that are much better than me, but I have had some success in the game, and because I play almost every single day on stream, I feel like I've come up with some decent strategies within the game. Last season, I ended up with a 15% win rate, which I was pretty proud of considering all the silly stuff I do on stream. My current KD is somewhere in the mid threes. I think it's like 3.3 right now. But when I first started playing PUBG, I struggled with this game, and I know a lot of people do. It's not easy to play on console. There's no auto aim. It's very different from any other game that's ever been played on console. So just know those things. And obviously when you play a battle royale game, there's a lot of luck involved. So the more you play, you kind of understand certain situations and how to put that luck in your favor by positioning. We a lot of times say positioning over shooting on the stream. And I really believe in that. And I really believe that sometimes looting is way less important than people think. This might be a hot take. I'm not sure, but I really feel like looting is not that important. Obviously you need a vest or a helmet if you want to fight or if you want to win the game. But in actuality, a lot of that stuff to me doesn't really make or break the situation. What it really makes is timing. Timing is the most important thing in this game, getting to a certain place at a certain time, being decisive, making decisions, and also your positioning in the match. Those things are really important. If you spend too much time looting, you're just going to get killed from a grenade or being out of position and stuff like that. We'll get into that in this video. And talking about looting, that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I'm going to start off this match here. We'll have to make another video about where to land and strategy like that. But basically, I think the common sense here is that if you want to play aggressive, you hot drop. If you want to survive a little bit longer and have more of a passive style game, you can land out in the in the middle of nowhere, for example. And even though I'm landing out in the middle of nowhere here, this was not a very passive game. We like to play aggressive, but for me, if I'm in a squad, I think you have a better chance of the squad surviving if you don't hot drop. It's just hard to make it out of somewhere. I kind of reserve hot dropping for solo and duo play, but when I'm in a 3 or 4 man squad, I like to kind of go somewhere maybe that's not a hot drop. So anyways, we're landing above Camp Bravo here. This is one of my favorite spots to land, and we notice that another team is landing here, and at the moment I couldn't really tell if the whole team is landing here or just one person. And this is a great example. What I was saying, that looting, sometimes looting is I don't want to say not important, but it's important to evaluate the situation. So here, instead of taking my time to loot, I grab a gun and immediately look for this player. And if I kept looting there, this player would have already been in a building getting a gun and could have maybe killed one of my teammates. But instead, because I just grabbed the gun and leave without a helmet or a vest, I'm able to take this guy out. And if this is a 4-man squad, which it is, now I've put the odds back to our favor, or at least they're even now because I've took out one of their players. And if we had a 4th man on our squad, the odds would be in our favor. It'd be 4v3. Now it's 3v3. Just from this quick move of not deciding to finish looting. And then after this, I can go back and loot. So obviously this is risky. I could have turned the corner. He could have had a helmet and a vest on and a gun. But because I got down quickly, I knew that the odds of that were pretty low, and taking this guy out was more important. And you don't want people on your team to die. So then after this, we loot up, and we have a couple decisions here. So the team is not in our compound, so we can make, there's a lot of decisions to be made, but there's 2 main ones. We can push into the circle and keep looting, which is the more passive decision, or we can be try to find this team and take them out. And in this game, I really feel like taking out people that you know where they already are is really important because they can come back to haunt you later. Another team could show up, right? And that's how you get sandwiched by not pushing, because you saw one team and then another team shows up and now you're in the middle. There's a lot of negative things that can happen by not doing that. So we decided to follow this team and try to take them out. Also, because we're kind of in a random area of the map, the more teams that we take out that we see, we can kind of verify that we're the only team in this area. Obviously, there's always a chance that some team is sneaking up behind you one way or another, but this really puts the odds in our favor that we're the only team in the area. So we decided to do that. We follow this team. We look, we notice that the team is headed this way. I think someone might have saw doors open. You look for some of those cues, and someone might have even saw the parachute heading that way. So we start heading up towards them. And if you notice, I start flanking right on the hill, and there's a lot to talk about here. I tried recording this video before and I can really ramble on forever. But basically, one of the best things you can do in PUBG is to kind of spread out a little bit so you have a better angle on people where they're hiding. So you're going to see I push up this hill. When I cross over the hill, I look in front of me, and now there's two players that are aiming at my team, and they're hiding behind the tree, but they're in perfect sight to me from the side here. And this is why flanking is so huge in really any game, in real life as well, strategy, because it just gives you a different angle. But for new players, flanking can be problematic because it puts you at a giant risk. For example, if I wasn't good at the game here and these guys were really good at the game, they could just immediately take me out. I'm in no cover right now, and my team isn't close enough to revive me, and then I would just get eliminated from the match. So this goes into this huge game theory. You know, it's almost like a basketball team. If you have 5-star point guards, you might not win just because they're the 5 best point guards put together on the team. You don't have any height. You don't have a center. You don't have a forward. It doesn't make the best team. Yeah, they might win against some bad teams, but if they play a fully stacked team of a great center, a great forward, a great shooting guard, and a great point guard, then that team, I think, has the better chance of winning. You really see that in most things in life. So if your team is just set up with all flankers and they all kind of go their own way and you all separate, then you're really just fighting a team 1v4 or 1v3. But if you have a team that has a support player or people standing in the middle and then someone flanking, that to me is your best chance of winning these engagements. So this is why it's helpful to understand your role in the game and also in each engagement. So for example, for me, I like to be the aggressive player flanking, but if I'm playing with people that are up in front of me or maybe even more aggressive than I am, then I like to take that center role so I can provide them with a different angle against the enemy. And then I'll also start checking the back and play a more passive role because you need to really have all those different spots filled. I really believe that you can't be as successful if you're playing with people that all have the same play style. One situation that I always like to bring up, you might have had something similar happen to you guys in the past or your squad. One time I was playing in a full squad. We were about to win the match. We were on top of a hill. We had perfect position. I was in a squad with a lot of good players, and somebody called out that an enemy player was coming in from the blue, and literally all 4 of us turned to the blue to shoot at this one player. And while we did that, one enemy player came behind us and killed us all with a frag grenade and then followed up by finishing off the rest with their weapon. And literally, if only one person had stayed to check our back, then we would have continued on the game and most likely got the winner chicken dinner. So my advice to prevent this is don't always go for the easy kill. Check your mini map a lot so you can see where your teammates are looking, and also try to communicate as much as possible to make sure that everybody is covering a different direction. And then as we're running up, we run into another guy here. So this was kind of a weird circumstance. This is sometimes you're like, where did this guy come from? It's just one guy. So we kill him and thirst him. And then again, we have another decision. So this is one guy, most likely a straggler, we're assuming from Camp Bravo. So the decision here is, do we push into Camp Bravo aggressively, or do we passively just leave them be and move into the circle? So since Camp Bravo is in the circle, we're not going to risk taking damage from the blue going in there and fighting. We decide to continue on our trajectory of playing aggressive and taking out this enemy team. And again, I think this is beneficial. It's risky to push sometimes, especially if this was a really good team in Camp Bravo. But being able to eliminate this team, now we've eliminated 2 teams in the area. Most likely there's only one surviving team in Camp Bravo, right? The odds of there being multiple teams that are still alive in there are pretty low as time goes on. And then now we can safely say that most of this area would be controlled by us if we win this engagement. So same kind of technique here. If we look at the map, I think Dayday and Box of Ducks start heading up to the front side of Camp Bravo, and I take a really long flank around the outside of Camp Bravo. And this was almost to the detrimental of the team because it took me so long to get around that my team started getting in an engagement, and Dayday actually went down here. Luckily, I made it just in time to take this guy out. It didn't look like he was about to thirst Dayday, but he could have. And so this is the risk reward of flanking, is that this time I went a little bit too out of the way. I could have ran into another team. I could have got killed, and then with Dayday being knocked, there would have been 2 people down. Boxer Ducks would have been the last one left, and then most likely lost the game. So risk reward here, but also getting into this position. This guy did not expect me to be there. I take him out. I have 6 kills, and we can move on from this area knowing that there really isn't anybody behind us. So again, continue that strategy. So we're moving into the circle here, and this is where you can start to think again about positioning, strategy, game theory, about where you want to go. You have decisions whether you want to play aggressive or passive. And just looking at the map, you can normally tell what area you're going to, if it's going to be a hotspot or not. And this kind of comes in time of playing PUBG. If it's your first time playing, you're not going to know what areas are more popular than others. But for example, on Sanhok, this hill is usually a pretty popular spot. If there's teams in this area, usually team likes to be on this hill. And we said that off the bat. We said, you know what, let's keep playing aggressive. Let's push this hill. There might be a team here. And if we wanted to play passive, we could have just went right of this hill and kept moving. But again, if we did that, we might have pushed past this team, and then we put ourselves in jeopardy of getting attacked from behind or getting sandwiched if another team approaches and hears gunshots. And that's sort of what happened here. We heard some gunshots, and then we saw them looting, and this is a perfect time to throw out a grenade or start shooting. I got a snipe and then followed up with the QBZ here, knocking 2 players off the bat. And if we waited a little bit longer here, these guys might have finished looting and then might have had a better position against defending us. We're towards the blue. Our back is up against the blue. They were closer to the circle. We had to kind of head this way. And it's all about making these decisions quickly. So I just want to reiterate that you want to make a decision, stick to it, make sure that people that you're playing with are on board when you're doing this and can follow up on the kills. We're good, right?
Guy with an up on me. No, one more. Thank you.
Got him.
All right, so we looted those crates and we've moved down the hill now to Paradise Resort and Spa, as I like to call it. And I'm going to pull up the mini map here. There's a lot to talk about with circle movement and game theory and strategy, so I'm going to do my best to overview all this stuff, but I really have a lot of opinions about this. I'm not saying that I'm 100% right here. You can't always make the right decisions. You don't always know, but you have to make educated guesses to the best of your ability. And obviously, everyone's going to have their own opinion on what strategy they believe works best. I'm just going to share with you guys some of my thoughts here. So if we look at the situation, the circle has moved to the northwest part of this island. So we're near Tatmok and we're no longer in the circle. So we have to rotate here or move directly in. And if we look outside the mini map here to the edge of the mini map, you're going to see the markers from where we originally landed at that random compound. If you guys remember from earlier in the video, we moved south, we took out a team, we headed to Camp Bravo, we took out a second team, then we were north of Bon and took out a third team, and we've headed here. So we sort of made a little bit of a J. So I'm going to use this information to sort of assume or predict that there's not really going to be any teams in that J area. So anywhere directly below us, because we just came from there, or anywhere directly to our right. So of course, an enemy team could have rotated behind us. Someone could have come down from Magne, but the odds of that to me are just very low. Not a lot of people land on the north right part of Sanhok. So the odds of somebody coming down near Paradise is pretty low. And I also have a theory about some of these hot drop areas. So a lot of times later in the match, people don't want to go to these hot drop locations like Boot Camp, Ruins, or Paradise because they just think that a team's going to be hiding there. And obviously it already got looted. So what's the point in being there? It's just a high risky, risk situation. So I kind of use reverse psychology a lot when I'm thinking about PUBG because a lot of people think of sort of the obvious strategy of what to do, right? Like a lot of people think I should flank here. So sometimes maybe it's better just coming through the middle. So an obvious strategy would be to maybe avoid Paradise, right? So you could hide here, say if the circle was here, and it might trick some people. Again, an obvious strategy in PUBG and a lot of war games is to flank from the side and attack from the wedge. So the wedge would be considered the area to the north or south of the circle where it's the slow side of the circle right here. So basically it would be Cow where my marker is or this building here. So a lot of teams are going to think to move in from this angle instead of going straight in. So a lot of times, because if you go straight in, you're going to think like you're out in the open, you're going to get pinched from both sides, right? But if multiple teams decide to push the wedge, then they're going to get into more conflict than you. So a lot of times you can use reverse psychology and maybe just run in through the middle and there might not be anybody in this area. And it kind of goes for center too. A lot of times teams like to push the center of the circle, but then other times A lot of people believe that being in the center is not a great idea because then you can get surrounded by all the other enemy teams in the map and kind of just get third-partied. So you have to kind of evaluate this in every situation. I know I'm throwing out a lot of information here, but this is just the way that I think about the circle and all of the games. So in this situation, we do decide to push the wedge. So I'm going to start showing some footage here of that. We're going to, actually, I'll keep the mini-map up. We're going to push the wedge towards Cow because I just believe that there's not a lot of enemies north of us, and I firmly believe that the enemy players are most likely coming from boot camp or possibly someone from Hot Tin. So they're going to be coming from the south side of the map or the west side of the map, and that this bottom wedge is going to be really hot. And it turns out that this is kind of true. We're going to hear a lot of gunfight in this area. And the reason why I believe that is because most people are going to land on the main part of the island. And when they're heading up, a lot of people like to avoid this compound. This compound is a shit show. Some people are going to be afraid to go towards like Paradise because they know there's just a lot of camping opportunity here. And a lot of people like to head by the coast. You always see teams pushing the coast because they know that the water, they can't get shot from the water. And then there's going to be people pushing this mountain right here, popular spot. People like to have the hill advantage, and that there's also going to be people probably trying to push from this water area here. Again, just a lot of hills. This area of the map to me is going to be the most popular. So we're going to take the north wedge, and also we really like Takmak. We land here a lot. We're comfortable with the spot. We know the in and outs of Takmak really well. So that's where we want to be to take advantage of this circle. So we're going to do that. We push up, we head right. We don't see anybody. We don't hear any footsteps. So we move to the top right of the wedge. Pretty much uncontested here. We get all the way into Takmak, and then we catch an enemy player that's just hanging out here. I'm going to hit him with a grenade, surprise him, get the knock, and then this is where things start to get a little bit real, because once we push into this corner of Takmak, we notice that there's an enemy team on the outskirts here in the wood. Luckily in Takmak, there's a lot of different things that you can use for cover. There's wood, there's the construction vehicles, there's the fence, there's the warehouse, there's so many things here. But once I got here, I realized that I kind of pushed up a little bit too far, and the teams I was talking about that pushed from the left side of the map are now in those mountains, in the woods, and there's also a team in this warehouse. So this is where communication becomes extremely important. So I'm getting shots down. I'm kind of noticing where all the enemy teams are or players are because I'm out this far. So here I notice I'm screwed. I'm in a really bad spot. So here I ask my team to flank left. This is Dayday and Box of Ducks. We only have a 3-man squad. So if I have them flank left into the warehouse, this team is going to have to choose which way they want to cover. If they look at me, my team can push in and flank them from the left and get the kill. If they turn to look to their right, I'm going to have a shot at them and I can push up in that direction. But it's important here that as my friends flank, my teammates flank, that I push in forward as well, because if I stay back here, if they push in too close and one of them gets knocked, I'm not going to be able to help in that situation. So this is the thing I notice a lot of players do, is that they'll stay too far back. Maybe they're sniping or they feel like they're in a good position. But really, you also have to put yourself out at risk and push up in these kind of situations so you can assist your teammates. So here, I got a kill, I got a knock. My team's moving up. I'm moving up as well. If I was farther back, I might have not had an angle like this on this guy. Even though I'm potatoing a little bit, I'm able to push up when this guy's out in the open. If I was all the way back there, I probably wouldn't have had that shot. And I noticed that a lot from people, that they won't move up in these situations, and then your teammates will be like, dude, where were you? And then because you thought you had a sight or whatever, you're back there and your teammates are dead. So after that engagement, there's 3 enemies left, 6 total players, including ourselves. And we're actually in a little bit of a tough spot here because we're on the edge of the circle, and the circle is going to give love to the enemy team. And even though the spot isn't too bad, we have the wood, the fence, and the tree to provide cover. I'm immediately going to leave this situation as this guy is kind of stuck behind the tree. We've hit him a couple times. He's weak, so if he peeks, he could die. And this is one of the pivotal moments in the game, is getting up to a position like this as soon as possible, because if we waited, our team could have got stuck at Takmak here, and then when the circle started closing in, the enemy team could have pushed up to these rocks and we would have had no cover, nowhere to go. And you see this happening a lot in the end game. So getting into position quickly so that you can put yourself in a better position to win is huge in this game, and just comes down to being decisive. Even if you play passive the entire game, it's important to get into these positions in the final circle so you can have an easier path to victory. And then here, because I see Dayday is moving up, I'm like, hey, come to my rock. I'm going to push forward a little bit so we can get different angles. It's all about different angles. Luckily, this is just pure luck that this guy turned the corner as I was aiming down sights anyways. And then check the health here. So again, there is a lot of luck involved in this game. I don't know how I didn't die here, but now that we're in a 3v1 situation, I'm able to take a cheeky hip fire shot with the Kar 98, and we come down with the winner chicken dinner. So there's a lot to finish there, right? at the end, but really the important thing is getting into position and having your teammates in different angles as always. That really helped. And again, just to reiterate that, if we would have stayed back and took time to decide where we were going, we could have all been stuck at Tap Mock. They could have threw a grenade and we all died with one spot. You don't want to be bunched up, especially in the end. You never want to be bunched up in PUBG. And moving to the rocks and the center circle, even though we didn't get center circle love, throwing smokes, having throwables is huge at the end. And really, if I had a couple tips for you guys, the main tips to wrap this video up is really making a decision, even if you're a passive player, making the decision and moving when you can, as soon as you can, and being quick about everything that you do in the game. Even if you're avoiding other players, that's fine. And then also really paying attention to your throwable. So a lot of times, like I said, having a million ammo, all this gear doesn't always help you win the game, but having a frag grenade at the end or a smoke so you can move into cover is super, super important, and position over shooting at all times. And hopefully the luck will go in your favor and you can end up with the winner chicken dinner. So hope you guys found this useful. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. If you didn't, you can thumbs down the video, and please let me know why down in the comments below. As always, there's just so much to talk about with PUBG. I tried to just do my best to overview it here, and hopefully we'll be creating more content like this in the future. So thank you all for watching. I'm Blitz5, and peace out.